Hello, and welcome to At Your End Step. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you folks this week.
What do we have?
An episode.
Episode.
Listen, sometimes...
We've got another fun-filled hippopotamus for you here today.
Sometimes when you're saying words, and then you have a little tiny burp, and it just makes you stutter a little bit. So...
Oh, but you get that cool one, like, episode.
No, episode. So obviously we have the entire sort of Throne of Eldraine card list available to us, and I know that everyone's pretty excited for, all of the things that are going to be happening over the weekend, especially with pre-releases and being able to pick up boxes and then opening disappointing collector's booster packs.
Did you see the container for that? For like the collector's edition, the giant. It's like a book and it's like a giant box, and you open it. It's the two foils.
Yeah, the super special edition that they talked about on weekly MTG.
The best thing on Twitter was definitely someone comparing that to the picture of the ball pit from Cardmageddon.
Yes, it's shockingly similar.
It was at Mana Curves did that. It was very good.
It's very nice. It's very good. Very much. I think their tweet was like same energy.
Same energy. Yep.
Yeah, very true.
It very much was.
Very true. But before we jump into all of that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our lovely patrons over at our Patreon. You can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/atyourendstep. And again, thank you so much for contributing. You folks help keep the lights on and the show going, so we appreciate it.
And look at us, 2 weeks in a row. I mean, like...
Yeah, like clearly you are getting what you paid for. And however you want to take that.
The rails are back on, baby.
So obviously, some of you might be expecting a Palooza-esque episode, but we've made the executive decision here at Your End Step Incorporated that due to time constraints and general mental health, like mental wellness is probably the better term, that it's probably not good for us to
I got to sleep
to continue to have 2-3 hour episodes talking about every single card.
Yeah, and I think like because you mentioned that, and like I had been thinking about it, like Morgan texted me, he's like, hey, what if we just did what we're going to talk about here shortly? And I was like, I'm so glad that we definitely are in sync on that, but we've got to get up, we have to have a better name. Like if like a Palooza was a full-on set like review,
right?
Then like what is? I'm looking here at thesaurus.com for some synonyms for celebration.
Sure.
Jubilation.
Oh,
Eldraine Jubilation.
That feels very flavorful for the set. Even
I do like that. How about this? A Frolic. A merriment.
Ooh,
that one's real good.
That one's very spot on, actually.
A remembrance doesn't seem so great. Ooh, a Saturnalia.
I can't say that one. That'd be all you, bud.
A jollification. A hullabaloo is not bad.
Hullabaloo's good. We're getting further away from the source material of Eldraine now.
Jubilee. I mean, that's the same as jubilation. It's good.
Yeah.
Gala doesn't seem that's what we're about.
You know what? I'm ready to vote for Frolic.
I like Frolic.
Yeah.
Okay. So this new format, at least for this one, because we're on. This is the Throne of Eldraine Frolic.
Correct. So we decided to kind of take the heavy hitters, the things that we expect to impact modern, standard, as well as brawl, because we're really truly trying to embrace that format. And I think it's something that we're going to be talking a lot more of now that it's getting pushed a little bit to the forefront, especially with Throne of Eldraine. And in honesty, like doing the Brawl Invitational that just happened was like some of the most fun I've had playing Magic in quite some time. So I think like that's where I need to sort of chase my bliss, as it were. So, and I know there's going to be plenty of people that will chase it along with me in our play group. So we're going to have a top 10 list for each, as well as some honorable mentions for each of them.
Should we point out, top 10 is maybe a bit of a misnomer.
Sure.
We're not going to count them down. We
both
made our
order.
list of like, these are the 10-ish cards we think are good, and then we got some chocolate and each other's peanut butter. Okay.
All right. You got something?
We have 3 goobers.
Correct. So we have 3 goobers.
So we have three goobers equal to 10.
Correct.
So we got some peanut butter and jelly just mashed right in there together. So.
Right. And what we tried to do is if we're going to talk about a card in another section, we tried to shift it over to that section to make more room to talk about, cards that we think will only, touch into standard. And then focus on maybe some standard implications for some of the modern cards, but mainly focus on
we try to make it so he said the list didn't overlap, so there may be
we just want to be able to talk about more cards. That's pretty much the gist of it.
More cards, but a frolic amount of cards.
Yeah,
not
frolic amount, not a palooza. No.
Hey, if the United States of America is not getting on the metric system, then I am okay with using obtuse forms of measurement.
100%.
I don't know how many frolics are in a palooza.
No idea. A plentiful amount, one would have to imagine, though. There are like a handful of things that happened in the community thought last week, but we'll probably cover those next week. It's nothing too dire. My phone's actually updating right now, so I can't actually check.
Here's the thing, off the top of my head, I don't know about anything specific.
I just feel like
we did have the change to the band of players. I'm sorry, I was going to say that.
Yes.
They're not showing that anymore. I think we'll save that one and actually talk about it. Though,
yeah, I think
that's a big one.
I know that we had some special invites for the next Mythic Championship.
Yeah, most of those were pretty cool. Looked like it was a good list. So.
And we'll talk about all that.
Was
stuff.
Aaron Barish, I think, was one of them.
For sure, and New Montanami, I know.
Yep, I'm glad with that too.
Caleb Durward as well.
Yeah, his tweet was pretty cool.
Yeah,
okay, we can talk about that next week then too.
Yeah,
that's
for
good.
sure.
So, because that's coming up.
Yeah, 100%. But let's just go ahead and jump into a frolic of Eldraine.
Well, we could just frolic.
Frolic to Eldraine, yes. So we're going to talk about standard first, and we'll start with our honorable mentions, just because these are ones that I know we like, and will have kind of impacts to the format, but aren't necessarily super exciting to talk a lot about. So the first one that I wanted to bring up was Acclaimed Contender, which is a 3 mana knight creature. It has, when it enters the battlefield, if you control another knight, you look at the top 5 cards of your library, and you can pick a aura, a knight creature, or
just a knight.
Just a knight. Okay.
So, and I think that because it's a knight, aura, equipment, or legendary artifact card.
Yes.
So it could be a tribal changeling card.
yes, theoretically. So this kind of does, and it's a 3/3 for 3, just on its face value. So it kind of does a little bit of a militia bugler sort of impression. Definitely has a lot more targets.
Is that the impression that you get?
That is the impression that I get.
I've never knocked. Anyways, so here, this card did not make my initial list, and it's only because of the first clause. It's if you control another knight.
Right.
We compare this to Militia Bugler. That card just came in and triggered.
Yes.
If we look over to Modern, Knight was a Knight Captain of Eos, right? Just triggers. If this just came in and triggered, it would have been in my top 10 list. But requiring another knight, not that that's not doable. There's plenty of good 1 and 2 drop knights you can have in this set, but it makes this less of an exciting draw off the top because, if you're behind, and you drew Militia Bugler, then you may have drew, okay, good 2 for 1. You draw this, you're I drew Centaur Courser. And I think that's the only thing that sort of stops me here with putting this card, in a top 10 scenario. But I do like it. In a dedicated Knights deck, this is good value and lets you run maybe that one of. The equipment theme here feels pretty subtle in Knights, but there are a couple of pieces of equipment that I think are pretty close. Evercleave being the one that
definitely
comes out to me, and maybe you only run 1, but then you get to run 4 of this, and you have a higher chance of finding it consistently. So
I only put it on there just because they are pushing Knights to some degree. So if you want to brew in that pathway, you have this kind of card that kind of allows you to do that. So
yeah, for sure.
The next one is Ironcrag Pyromancer. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, Ironcrag Pyromancer is definitely an interesting one as I'm getting to my eyes. This is where I'm at. What the heck? There we go. It is a 2 generic and a red for a 0/4 creature human wizard. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, Ironcrag Pyromancer deals 3 damage to any target. This is a spicy card.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if it's perfect or just outside where I want to be. When you look at that triggered ability, we actually saw it in Cube a little bit this last weekend. Morgan, you played with the blue Flash Flyer that gets a counter when you draw a second card. And if you build your deck so you're drawing extra cards, it's surprisingly easy to trigger on your turn.
Right.
And if you know that you're triggering this consistently, the card gets much better.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know, it may draw a lot of not conclusions, but a lot of comparisons to something like Gutter Snipe or something like that. It is a card that sits there and threatens a lot of damage, right? And especially when you look at it's going to be played in a deck that's probably going to have a lot of instants or sorceries, going to theoretically draw you a lot of cards. And I think the immediate thing you think of is it Phoenix in Standard, right?
100%.
So I don't know if that deck still exists. It definitely seems that it could have a decent enough mana base. You have two sets of rare duels, so you have the Scryland and you have Steam Vents. We did get, another card we're going to talk about here is another fixer for it as well. And you are losing some amount of things, though, which is kind of difficult. You're losing one of your Drakes, for sure. You're
the worst Drake.
The worst one, yeah. It's still definitely a threat.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're losing Charticors.
That's probably bigger than the actual Drake at this point. So let's examine this in two ways, because I have another set of honorable mentions I want to tag in with this, which is Throw a Possibility in the Royal Scions, because I had tag teamed those up. But I do want to address this card in context of removal, because Standard's removal is getting a little worse. Because you're losing both Lightning Strike and Wizard's Lightning.
Yes. So 3 toughness has a little bit more stability. You still have Skewer the Critics.
Yeah, you have Skewer. You still, for this creature, you still have Lava Coil, which is important.
Yes.
But it depends on what the other decks are doing. Obviously the 3 mana of the creature we're going to talk about, the Rider, we'll talk about, is a real piece of removal. But if those decks are also going to lean on things like what we've seen in this format, like Legion's End, this is good against Legion's End. Disfigure, pretty good against Disfigure. So I think that gives you some pause. It can block pretty effectively. And it also passes the Giant test, which is another card we'll see in our top 10. So those all seem good to me, even we're doing that Gutter Snipe comparison. Sorry about that. The other cards that I want to mention then being the Royal Scions of Throw a Possibility. Throw a Possibility is Tormenting Voice, but as an instant.
Yes.
And being an instant is important because, one, we thought that Phoenix was going to lose all of its discard outlets by losing Tormenting Voice. Well, Thrill gives it still another one of those options.
Yeah.
But you can also cast on your opponent's turn and trigger this Pyromancer.
Yeah.
And then the Royal Scions is a 1 generic red-blue for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. I guess I shouldn't just guess. But that ability of looting that is tacked onto that as its initial tick-up always triggers on your turn. Then it'll always make the Pyromancer trigger on your turn. Now, that's a lot of 3-drops.
For sure.
To be fighting for space. But, that's your draw discard for your Phoenix. That's your trigger for this. That sounds like a stew.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how good that stew's going to taste.
No.
Okay, there's a lot of food in Eldraine, so...
Yeah, that's very true. But, people like playing those decks, so it's people are going to try it. People are going to try to pursue it for sure. So it just kind of depends on how the format, shapes out. But, people love, Arclight Phoenix.
Oh, yeah. This guy right here included.
So people love that kind of deck, and as long as that card exists within the format, that people are going to try to brew with it. And especially when you get a lot of good blue-red sort of tools to use, then people are going to try it.
Sorry, the Royal Scion starts at 5 loyalty, so
yeah,
it's
5,
6 up to
okay.
6. And I also want to mention the Royal Scion's second ability is +1, target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. Do you know who loves that ability? Crackling Drake.
Yes.
Oh man, does Crackling Drake love that ability?
Yeah,
it's
trample
first strike, trample. Yeah, I'm coming
Please.
in. So
Please.
I think you saw people playing Crash Through. You know what I mean, for as a cycler, but also that trample was super important in some games.
Yeah.
So and you also saw people playing Warlord's Fury at different times because so now it's just
all of it. Just all of it.
So I think the Royal Scions could be good in that deck. It just really depends on what it's doing, honestly, on turn 2. That's, I think, is going to make a lot of difference for that deck now that you don't have Charticors. So
that's very true. And then the last one that I want to talk about is Opt. It's a reprint, but it means that Opt is going to obviously stay within the standard format, which again I think helps those kind of blue tempo decks, excuse me.
Tempo desks.
So like we're obviously we're going to talk about another card that kind of lends itself to building like a new kind of tempo deck, and maybe that's the thing that you're doing on turn 2 potentially, but maybe that's too early. But I think it plays into a lot of that, and it's a good card to continue to have access to in the standard.
Yeah,
format.
I like seeing it now. A couple of sets. It seems like that they've just like throwing that in there with like duress and things like that. I think.
Yeah, it's just sort of it's a fair cantrip that can consistently exist within the format.
Right.
So that's all of our honorable mentions for standard. Let's get to the real cards. So the first one we want to talk about is Realm Cloaked Giant. So this is
Ho ho ho! Realm Cloaked Giant.
This is it's a adventure card, so it has sort of 2 cards in one. The first one that we want to talk about is obviously the Realm Cloaked Giant. It is a 5 generic white for a 7/7 Vigilance creature giant. It's a mythic rare, but there's also a sorcery on it called Cast Off, which is 3 generic white. It says destroy all non-giant creatures. So this is our this is sort of our wrath of this format. We still have some
Kaya's Wrath.
we have
Planar Cleansing.
and like sort of the black ones that are like -X. So we have Cry the Carnarium.
Cry the Carnarium.
And then we have Ritual of Soot.
Ritual. So we also have like Deafening Clarion.
Yeah.
So
and the
Flame,
other
Flame Sweep.
the other
But good.
the really weird red-white one that deals
Oh,
like
it's Solar Blaze.
Solar Blaze.
Solar Blaze. Sorry. I want to point something out because, like, yes, this is our 5 mana Wrath, which is interesting. It really will depend on like giants that we see play in the format, and there are a couple, at least outside of this one, at least one that looks like it's going to see play. So that'll be dependent there, because if your red opponent has that giant in play every time you cast this spell, then you're probably not excited about this.
Yeah, it's going to feel pretty bad.
But if this is consistently 5 mana Wrath that you get to play a finisher later off of, I mean, that's the kind of card advantage a control deck's looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a free 2 for 1.
Also, and I want to make sure I'm not crazy on this. This is a creature in your hand, right?
Yes,
Okay, so it can't be duressed.
correct.
That seems really important because, like, that's one of the ways that decks will get around. Like, all right, I'm going to duress or your Wrath spell. Well, duress isn't going to hit this one, and I think that's a pretty interesting piece of protection for your Wrath spell that you've never had before. Really,
Yeah.
I guess like Desolation Angel or whatever.
I mean, you could technically look at like Elish Norn as being that, but not even really in the
We
same
had the
realm.
Awakening Sun's avatar in
Sure.
the last, but yeah. So I think it's important. Like, this is a 5 mana Wrath that like is a spell but can't be duressed, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how. I mean, a 7/7 with Vigilance is also just pretty nice. It's definitely a nice, clean 3-turn clock. So
It is. It's important to note that how much of a clock this really is going to depend on how many times your opponent can chump block it.
that's very true too.
So like that's an important thing to really consider. But I think like you're definitely playing in your deck for the adventure. The creature is just like icing on the cake.
And it really is. This is just a very nice like look at like how nice of a 2-for-1 adventures can be.
Exactly. So you can take the next one, Brazen Borrower.
Oh man, speaking of adventures, I gotta say this is the card I am most excited for in this set. Like I know that some people were maybe not very high on Brazen Borrower, but man, I think you're just crazy and wrong if you were like, this is average. This is 1 blue for a 3/1 fairy rogue. It has flash and flying, and Brazen Borrower can block only creatures with flying. And then it has an adventure, Petty Theft, for a generic and a blue instant. Return target non-land permanent and opponent controls to its owner's hand. I think the play pattern with this card is going to, be honest, piss people off real quick. And again, we keep alluding to the giant. We'll talk about it soon. But those 2 cards, I think, are really going to tell us what this format's doing. Because you make a play on turn 2, I'm gonna play this on turn 2 and bounce it, and then I have a flash creature sitting there. I might have a counterspell on turn 3. You won't know. Don't play into the counterspell. I have a 3/1. Play into the counterspell? Cool. I still have a 3/1 waiting. I think the play patterns of this card are disgusting, and I think it's very, very good.
Yeah.
I had this one on my modern list as well. Like, I think the only thing that hurts it in modern, I think, is it's a fairy rogue, not a fairy wizard.
Yeah.
Because if it was a wizard, you would see it more. But I think this has, I was going to say legs, but I guess wings.
Yeah.
In other formats.
Yeah, and I can definitely respect that. I think if you take both these cards separately, right? You take like what? It's disperse. It's
disperse.
Petty theft, and then like brazen borrower. It's like kind of a weird Vendilion click-esque creature.
It's a flash Rishadan airport or
airship.
Airship. I was going to say airport. That's not right. Rishadan airplane.
So you take both of separately, like none of those are like breaking the bank in standard, right?
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
So obviously the power of this card comes from the versatility of it, the ability to have both these things in one card and have the flexibility of having access to both of these at any given point in time.
Right.
Sometimes you may not you may just like flash in a threat and at the end of your turn it just start going to town. Like it's a 3/1, it's a clock.
100%.
And I know that I was listening to Arena Deckless, they were talking about this card because I was one of those people that was like, I don't know why this is a mythic. Like it just like rings discordant in your head a little bit. But they're like, this card, it tells you what it wants you to do. It wants you to attack because it can only block things with flying. So it probably means you're going to be attacking with it in the first place. And it would be very upsetting if this card didn't have that line of text. By the way, just in case you were wondering, like you should be very happy that it can't block non-flyers because that would be even worse.
Consistent blowouts.
Yes.
So,
but yeah, I think this card is definitely powerful. It probably rubs a lot of people the wrong way because this is such a blatant like constructed all-star.
Yeah, no, the whole like what a mythic is, you just have to ignore that for now.
No,
it's true.
And like I can understand them not wanting this to show up a lot in like limited games because I'm sure that's probably pretty frustrating because it's going to be frustrating enough in constructed games.
It's definitely good in limited. I think in constructed it's play pattern. Like I think you got to look at like even like blue green
flash
to start because this card is it sits there in the offense adventure as a rattlesnake, and that's not how this card should, but it's how it operates. But also, when you look at the format at large, got a Narset sitting there stopping you from drawing cards. Let's flash this in and get rid of it. Somebody attacking your planeswalker, you want to reset it? Let's bounce it back. Yeah, like that. The flexibility that this card represents is just it's probably like not great. I don't know how much paper standard I'll play throughout all this.
Yeah,
but I have to assume that both in paper and on Arena, this is the card in Eldraine that I plan on casting the most.
Yeah,
that's just where I'm at.
Knowing you, I believe it.
Like I can use this to bounce something to bring back my phoenixes, and then still have a creature waiting for when they kill my phoenixes. Like, oh, okay, here's another one.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be interesting time.
I love this card.
It's important to note that obviously, like Teferi will still exist in the format, so like that's still a thing that you have to like consciously play around. Cast your
Zalfair, don't care.
Cast your Brazen Borrower while Teferi is on the stack if you want to flash it in at the end of turn, which may be awkward because then they can just bounce it.
You're right, Morgan. They should have made it Venser.
Please don't make this card better than it needs to be. I'm just saying, like, these are certain things you're going to have to be aware of when you're playing this card.
Yeah,
since
absolutely.
we do have, like, that awkward Planeswalker still in the format.
That's true.
Next up is... another adventure card. Surprising. These 2-for-1s. They're just the best cards you can be playing in Standard. So we have Murderous Rider. It's 1 generic black for a creature, Zombie Knight. And it has lifelink and says, when Murderous Rider dies, put it on the bottom of your library instead. Or bottom of its owner's library. And it's a 2/3. All right, well, that's kind of a boring creature. Let's talk about the adventure it has, which is Swift End, which is 1 black for an instant adventure, destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. All right. So Hero's Downfall. Bad Hero's Downfall, quote unquote.
It's got the inverse of Rastler's Contempt, like
yes,
attached to it.
And just a like kind of serviceable creature attached to it, which is perfectly fine because you're definitely playing this because it's just Hero's Downfall.
Yeah, sometimes you get to put them back in your deck, so that's
It's
pretty neat.
probably better than them going to your graveyard where you can get them back with like raised dead effects.
That's pretty true, I suppose. Hey, what's the deal with this guy's name? It says it's Murderous Rider. Hold on, I gotta do the. What's the deal with
What's
Murderous
the deal?
Rider? He's got so many arrows sticking at him. He should have been called Murdered Rider. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, he is a zombie, so
Anybody high five
he's
for
undead.
the
No,
high five?
put it down.
Oh, all right.
This is just the quintessential removal spell for the format.
Yeah, no,
right?
100%.
Like, do you remember? Were you playing in Theros when Here's Downfall was legal? Yeah, it's that.
It certainly is. The 2-life thing, though, it is a little bit more punishing.
Yes.
If you are playing against an aggressive deck and you're waiting till turn 3 to cast this as your first removal spell, yeah, you may not be feeling so good.
I still think that was even true with
Hero's Downfall.
Hero's Downfall.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely it was. So it's just something to consider. But the nice thing is you do have the option of then playing a lifelink creature to go with it.
100%.
So
you
that
can get back that life.
that does help.
Yeah,
So,
and like again, we are going to go back to like 3 toughness is different than it used to be.
it certainly is. We just don't have Lightning Strike and Wizard's Lightning just hanging around. So
Yeah.
that's important.
That is very important.
Let's talk about that red giant we've been alluding to.
the angry red giant.
The
I would not call him
Bone
jolly.
Yeah, no, not at all. This is like the juggernaut of Magic cards. Like his helmet fell off and he's mad. Bone Crusher Giant is a 2 generic and a red for a 4/3 giant. Whenever Bone Crusher Giant becomes a target of a spell, Bone Crusher Giant deals 2 damage to that spell's controller. Nice. And then it has an adventure spell, Stomp. This is making music with brooms.
Yeah, correct.
Generic and a red for an instant. Damage can't be prevented this turn. Stomp deals 2 damage to any target.
So, shock plus.
So just like with Brazen
4/3.
Yeah, just like with Brazen Borrower, like you better play a 2-drop that can survive this, because oh boy, I'm going to end a turn, kill your 2-drop, and then on my turn, I'm going to cast Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah.
And I've only used 1 card. I'm a red deck. And then if you kill this, if you target with spell, you're just gonna take 2 more damage. That's bonkers to me.
Yeah.
But I even think like that damage can't be prevented this turn is a really interesting piece of text, because that sets up some really cool plays. Now that we have protection back in the format,
Yeah.
if people are boarding in, well, it's what Drake is it? It's the
Cerulean Drake.
Cerulean Drake. You can set it up so like, okay, well they're blocking here, right? And then you can cast this, on one of their other creatures, and then damage can't be prevented. And guess what? Their protection for red creature is still going to die in those blocks.
100%.
So I think that's a line that, I mean, let's be honest, especially players who have only learned through Arena, well, protection just came back for them, so it's new.
Yeah.
This, I think, the first time they see this happen is going to either A, they're going to figure it out and go, oh, this is awesome, or it's going to happen to them and they're going to be mad for a little bit, but then they're going to go, okay, this is awesome. So it's a cool way to play with protection creatures as well.
Yeah, it's something that you see this in Modern. Like you can see this in Modern with Skullcrack.
100%.
And blocking, getting your burn creatures blocked by like a Core Firewalker or the champion, and then doing a Skullcrack, doing one of them Skullcracks.
Do one of those Skullcracks.
So this is going to be a new sort of play pattern that we may or may not see within Standard, which is kind of interesting. But then, you're in the mono red decks, or the red decks in general, you are losing, something like a Chain Whirler, so you have like this empty spot for like
a Ferocidon, technically.
Yeah, and Ferocidon now, I guess. So you have this kind of open slot for a pretty potent 3-drop, which this slots into very nicely, and it kind of being able to pull double duty is pretty good. Yeah, I know. It's pretty great.
Have you seen the size of this giant? He definitely has double duties. That's a poop joke.
Quality content right here.
In the diaper.
But it's also important to note that this, is way more splashable than something like a Chain Whirler.
100%.
So obviously we're talking about this in like a mono red aspect, but you could see like a Gruul deck or something like that, be able to take advantage of using this card. So.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I really like it. As far as like high ranking adventure cards, it is up there with Brazen Borrower and Murderous Rider. So, all right. Next up, Feasting Troll King. So Feasting Troll King is 2 generic and 4 trees, so green, 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 for a Troll Noble. It was a 7/6. He has Vigilant Trample. It says, when Feasting Troll King enters the battlefield, if you cast it from your hand, create 3 food tokens. Then it has sacrifice 3 foods, which is such a weird, like, you expect to see be food tokens, but it's foods, because we have other things that are
other
food.
things that are food, yes.
Return Feasting Troll King from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this only during your turn, which is not the same as activate this only this at a time you can cast a sorcery, which is important to point out. So for some reason you can do this at instant speed if you wanted to during your turn. So I don't know if that's relevant or not, but could be, I guess. And also it's just like 7/6 you can just get randomly out of your graveyard. Which is probably the more important part. There have already been some people brewing with decks that, achieve to do that via getting various food throughout, the game, and then suddenly having a 7/6 early, probably before turn 6, when you can realistically cast this card.
Yeah, and just like keep putting out. Like, there's obviously teams with like Oko.
Yes.
But it's if you can have a steady stream of food.
I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, and then you can play a little bit of self-mill with this. You can do, there's a lot of gross things with this, and that recursion is tough. Like, a 7/6 is whatever. Maybe it's kind of derpy. I don't know. Maybe the first time. Maybe the second time. Maybe the third time.
Yeah, how many times are you going to be able to clear this from the battlefield?
Yeah, 100%. So, if you have a good food engine,
like an oven or a microwave.
Well, specifically a witch's oven.
A witch's oven, yeah,
so,
that could do it.
I don't know if they had the ye old Eldraine microwave, but
they have ye old Eldraine easy bake oven.
Yes, absolutely. Sticking with green, since we're already in here, let's talk about the Gilded Goose.
Yes, the goose that layeth golden eggs.
Yeah, well, it itself is gold, which does that mean that it's like a horrendous sound when like
I don't
egg?
know. I don't want to know the. I don't need to. You don't need to tell me how it works. All right.
Well, it's a green for a 0/2 creature bird with flying. When it enters the battlefield, create a food token. Then you have 2 activated abilities. One is pay a green and generic, tap, create a food token. So that's it, laying that golden egg.
Yeah, we get it.
And then, or just tap, sacrifice a food, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So this is our replacement for Land Royals. I'm honestly surprised to still see a 1 mana
so am I.
creature.
Even if it's something that isn't necessarily always available.
Yeah, you really have to build around it to use it consistently. But like, it's still a 1 mana 0/2 flyer as well by itself. Like,
it's true.
It just blocks a fair amount of things.
Yeah.
Like, I look over it, like I wanted to talk about like Fervent Champion, but then I'm like, how can I? There's a bunch of flying. There's a bunch of 0/2s in the format. Like
there might be, and
nice card, idiot.
I don't
Sorry,
know how.
Dominguez. Like,
I don't know how a knight on a horse is like can't break through a.
It's a metal bird. Like, that's how it can't break through.
But it's still the size of a regular goose, right? It's not like a giant goose. Why can't the horse?
Well,
ride?
the fervent the fervent rider or whatever is only a 1/1. Maybe it's a little teeny. I don't know how big Javier Dominguez is in real life. Maybe he's tiny.
So he's just like a very tiny man riding like Lil Sebastian in the battle.
Yeah, it's like a Don Quixote situation. It's like everyone else is like doing real things, and he's tilting at golden gooses.
But everyone loves him, and that's why he can give other knights +1.
Oh yeah, no, they all like bet on it and everything. So, but yeah, this is just a good blocker. And honestly, like compared to other like 1 mana creator, like this late game off the top is its own engine. Like you can just have him make food, buys you time, maybe you're using those foods to bring back a Troll King,
That's
so I think this card is going to be all over the place in Eldraine Standard.
Yeah. It does the things that you want it to do. And I don't know what more we can really say about it. It's not necessarily like super exciting it's not as exciting as when we got Llanowar Elves back, but it's still like an interesting card to be able to play with in your green X decks. So,
absolutely, I want it now, Daddy.
So next up is a card that is
right after Fervent Champion.
That is true. But it's Fires of Invention, which is 3 generic and a red for an enchantment. And like once you hear like it's a red enchantment, like it's either gonna be like the worst card you've ever read in the entirety of your life, or probably something that might be bannable. Because like
it could be like aggressive mining, where everyone went, all right.
aggressive mining, one of the worst cards you've ever read in
Oh, that's not true.
in the entirety of your life. Or Sneak Attack, one of the most busted cards that could have ever existed in Magic.
Fair enough. Which one is this one?
You be the judge of that, public.
TBD.
You can cast spells only during your turn, and you can cast no more than 2 spells each turn. All right, that sounds bad. The second paragraph better make up for it. It says you may cast spells with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana cost. So you get to cast 2 free spells.
Yes.
Every one of your turns, and then nothing on your opponent's turn, which
Right.
would be pretty busted if you could cast things on your opponent's turn, obviously.
Yes, it would. You'd be many spells.
But people are already starting to like
Try and break this.
try to break this, and through various means. One of them being Niv Mizzet Reborn.
That would be a way to do it. I think it's important here. Once you reach that CMC threshold, then like color restrictions obviously don't count. You can just cast
Correct.
it. And like we're getting a whole wave of utility lands to go along with this. You know what I mean? So you can be doing things with your mana while you're casting your free spells. But I do think you've really got to make those free spells count, because once you turn off interaction with your opponent, yeah, it better be Niv Mizzet. You know what I mean? It better be
Right.
something very, very good. And I don't know if Standard always has the best options for things like this.
No.
But maybe. It's certainly very powerful.
So I'm going to tell you a card that you should all be aware of in case this gets out of hand. Her name is Lavinia, Azorius Renegade. she has a line of text that says, whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So it is a blue and a white as your safety valve for this, but it does exist.
Good to know.
I think like first seeing this card, you're like, I don't know, this card could be pretty bad. It has a lot of downside, but clearly people are very, very passionate about it. And there have been some, if you're on Magic Twitter at all, some pretty interesting brews to say the least. And one of them is just like, obviously a Niv Mizzet sort of 5-color brew. Another one's just like a mono red, like mid-range brew, which is kind of, an interesting way to take that.
Just wants to cast its spells, man. Here's the thing. Once you start chaining, if you get to cast 2 5-drops the turn after you untap with this, or even the turn you cast this, you cast another free spell, like, the decks, maybe they can't win via card advantage that way, but they can certainly win with a mana advantage that way. And I think like that's something to remember. Like, that's a supreme mana advantage.
Yeah.
So
another card to kind of consider with this that we're not talking about, but is Escape to the Wilds, which is the souped up light up the stage, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that actually comes with a way to ramp, because it lets you play an additional land card. And those could be best friends in the entirety of the format. So certainly an interesting card. And if people see a way to cast something for free, they'll probably try real hard to do it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So that brings us to our next card,
Which is the Great Henge.
which is another way to reduce the cost of something.
So this is a 7 generic green for a legendary artifact. This spell costs X less to cast, or X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Tap, add 2 green, you gain 2 life. Whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw a card. Now, I want to tell you a story about a card that I got to play in Standard that was nutso busted, and every time I see it like in like Legacy Cube, I have to really, really stop myself and think about it because of how good it is. And that card was Morari's Wake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that doubled your mana.
Yeah.
That gave all your creatures +1/+1. Well, when I look at this, it doesn't double your mana, but it does add 2 mana.
Yeah.
It does gain 2 life, which I don't know if you ever played with Pristine Talisman, but that card's unbeatable. Here's 2 of them. And your Mirari's Wake gave your creatures +1/+1. Well, this gives a counter, so even if you get rid of the Great Henge, no, they're still beefy.
They're still
and
big.
you draw a card.
You do, in fact, do that.
Like, what's the cube where you just staple random effects to a card? Let's just staple and draw a card to Mirari's Wake, because that's...
Scar Cube.
Yeah, that's it. So,
Scar Cube, Mirari's Wake.
I mean, if you look at this, if you have 4 power, right? If you have a 4 power creature in play, or 4 power creature makes this, a 5 mana spell.
Yep.
Right? So you can play this on curve in your green deck, and then you're just going off. Like then you're just going to town for sure. So this card is very scary to me. I think like there are going to be some decks, and I think Morgan posted a picture of a deck.
So there was the streamer preview event that went on. So Andrea Mangucci was playing a black-green deck, taking advantage of Rotting Regisaur in this, which
weird.
makes the Great Henge 2 green mana. What a deal.
Also, if you have to discard a card for the Regisaur, that's fine. Every time you cast another creature, you'll just draw a damn card. So, I did a cuss. I apologize.
It's all right. We get one.
But Great Henge. We're looking at that cycle of artifacts, and I think we're going to talk about some other ones for Brawl.
I think the other one technically not talking about is the blue one,
the mirror,
which is probably still fine and worth talking about.
Yeah,
like, in all honesty.
maybe it's
I don't
pretty
know.
slow.
It is slow, like for Brawl, like sure, like
fair.
you're playing it probably.
But this one feels like the one that's really the closest to me. I do think Embercleave has a chance to see some standard play.
Yeah,
but that's definitely a Brawl machine.
Yeah, 100%.
But like the Great Henge, like I think spawns archetypes. Like you take a little bit of this, a little bit of a Nissa, and then you just go.
Yeah, like Nissa's still. Oh my god.
Yeah, Nissa's still here.
God.
You know how you make a 3/3, and then all your forests tap for double mana. You can cast this real easy.
Then it's just Mirari.
And then you just have Mirari's Wake.
Oh, they just put it in 2 cards. All right. Well, I don't know what you're planning on doing in Standard, but what we just described sounds pretty all right.
So in this set, Nissa goes to the Great Henge, and Karn's like, this feels familiar. Why does this feel so familiar?
I feel like I've seen this before.
Memnarch, is that you?
Are you behind that big tree?
Oh my gosh. All right, we're almost done with standard cards.
Yep. We're on Oko, Thief of Crowns.
That sweet whale.
Now, I'm gonna put my wife on blast because she likes to say crayons as crowns. So now I can't help but picturing Oko just stealing your crayons. All right, so Oko, Thief of Crowns, is 1 generic blue and a green for a legendary planeswalker, Oko. He has 4 loyalty counters when he enters the battlefield. He has a +2, which says create a food token. And he also has a +1, which says target artifact or creature loses all abilities and becomes a green elk creature with base power and toughness of 3/3. And lastly, there's a -5, which says exchange control of target artifact or creature you control, and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. This is Oko's an engine, right? Like Oko plays so well with the other food. All the other cards that take advantage of you having food of some persuasion. Obviously, we've talked about the troll, but there are other things in the set that the goose as well as being another one of those things that takes
the
advantage
goose could
of.
Be loose.
Yeah, you can let loose the goose. So this is a way that you get to have a planeswalker, which comes down, takes up to 6, and gives you some sort of advantage, and then allows you to kind of play this weird, whether you are exchanging things with your opponent, actually getting their creatures, or just like making food into 3/3s. Like it kind of does just everything that you would want to do within a deck like that, that's taking advantage of food, but also having a way to end the game as well. Which it may be slow, but an army of 3/3s will still do it.
Right.
And again, let's talk about that 3 toughness thing that we've already mentioned. It's going to be significant in the format. I do think it's cute that you can make your opponent, and you can turn your opponent's creature into an elk, and then actually I want that elk. You can take this food token.
You can take this elk.
But I do think out of the planeswalkers that we have, I don't think any of them are terribly unplayable, to be perfectly honest.
No, I don't think so either.
Which is, it's been a while since we've had that. I mean, we had M20, which had 5 planeswalkers, so it makes sense that not all of them are really All-Stars, and then we had War of the Spark, which had a significant amount of Planeswalkers. But
The Royal Rumble, right?
but comparatively to like another set where we just have like 3, we've got a pretty wide range of viability from all these Planeswalkers. But I think Oko is the one that really shines. I mean, we can definitely talk about Garruk, and I just think like 6 mana is a lot in this format, and I don't know if he does as much as the other ones can do, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think the format's got to play around them because we have 2, I guess 3 technically 6 mana planeswalkers right now that are incredibly powerful, and at this point they're not seeing any amount of play.
Just can't make the cut.
We have Vraska. I don't remember what the name of the 6 mana one was, but it did see a fair amount of play
for a while,
for a little bit. But now for the last 6 months or so, just saw nothing. We have Liliana, Dreadhorde General, super powerful card. Cannot scratch the format right now. And Chandra Awakened or is that Awakened Pyromancer?
Awakened Inferno.
Awakened Inferno, that's what it is. Incredible card. It has seen a little bit more play. But again, like the power level's there, but the format really hasn't. So maybe if the format slows way down, that's where we go.
Which it could.
And it certainly could. But then also Garruk is competing with Liliana, Dreadhorde General, and Chandra, as we already mentioned. So I think Garruk is definitely very good, but I will need some convincing also to see that's the 6-drop I definitely want to be playing. Yeah, we talked about even the troll. You know what I mean? Like maybe you just want to go food engine and do it that way. So it's tough.
And I think like when you look at our mana, I think it's significantly worse. So you can't go for like these sort of when we had like the like Sultai or like 4-color Dreadhorde decks. Like I don't know if we can do that anymore.
It's not going to be as consistent, and you're going to play a lot of temples.
Yeah. So that's where you would think you would see something like that, because like maybe you can do something, and maybe Garruk's ultimate is worth it for you for some reason or another. But you don't have an engine to like gain life anymore. Well, food's too slow. Like, realistically,
the Explore package also like turns you off of playing some of these 6 mana green/green/black planeswalkers as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just don't know where you would want to slot them in. That wouldn't be like, I don't know if green black's like the strongest, or green black X is like the strongest place to be initially in the format.
Yeah, so we'll see. But like people are saying like, oh, it's a lot closer to Elspeth because it makes 2 tokens. Like I've played a lot with Liliana through Brawl, but I've also heard that she's Elspeth a lot too. Yeah. Guess what? Neither of them are Elspeth Sun Champion, because that card was so good.
The card slaps.
So next up is Fabled Passage, which, talking about some fixing, this is our real piece of fixing. I can't believe how late in the spoiler season this came out.
Yeah, and like if you listen to the Arena deck list, they talked about that too, because like a lot of people were making content thinking like, oh, we're just gonna have like real bad mana bases.
Here's no mana bases, but this is just a land, sacrifice it, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. If you control 4 more lands, untap that land. So this is Evolving Wilds that becomes untapped the later you go into the game.
Right.
This is going to be important, especially in 2-color decks. It just is. Because
and, 3-color decks, like, period.
Yes, it depends on how many basics you run on those decks, because I think that untap is really what you're looking for here.
Well, so it only cares if you control 4 more lands. They don't have to be basic.
Oh, my bad. You're right. Never mind. I evaluated that wrong. Okay, well, good to go. Nope, all of them are great.
When I initially read that card, like that's what I thought too.
Nope, great for everyone.
That this is going to be like a key piece of fixing, obviously, this plays as far as power level somewhere between a Evolving Wilds and a Prismatic Vista. But it's going to be super important for Standard as well as like Brawl.
Yeah.
I was hoping that we would get a 5-color land, and this is what that is.
This is what it is. Yeah, I like this design, and I have a feeling that this is going to play well, and this might become something we see a lot. Like Fabled Passage is also a really generic name.
Oh yeah.
So one of the land I want to talk about, because it was on my list but we didn't add it to the 10 list, is we didn't talk about any of the castles, but I want to specifically talk about Castle Embereth, which is the red castle, enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a mountain, tap for a red, 1 red creatures you control go +1/+0 until end of turn. I think that was in my top 10. That was in my top 10. I think all of the castles are. Most of the castles are pretty good.
I think most of them are playable.
I discussed this in our show chat a little bit. Like I think these are coming in play untapped most of the time.
Yes.
And I think that's the key with this. Like if it's coming into play untapped most of the time, then there's not a downside. There just legitimately isn't a downside. So, but I think the red one is the one that just made, like, you're going to be happy when that's sitting in your pile of lands, at various parts of the game. Maybe that's how Fervent Champion kills the Gilded Goose.
There you go.
He goes to the castle.
He goes to the castle. The castle makes him
And
strong.
Castle Embereth is the one that's not technically a castle, right? It's actually just like dueling grounds, like jousting. It's like a big jousting pavilion.
Maybe.
Yeah, whatever. So the castles I think are all fairly good, but the red castle is the one that I think that will be the first to see a lot of play in standard.
Yeah, I mean it's the easiest one to like kind of point out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So those are standard cards. We're gonna move on to modern here, and the first one we want to talk about was Deafening Silence. This is 1 white for an enchantment, and it says each player can't cast more than 1 non-creature spell each turn. So realistically, this is something that we'll probably see in sideboards, but this is a pretty strong sideboard card. I think like when you look at something like Storm, or something even like the Prowess decks, like they aren't necessarily a top tier, but if something like this were to come up, we have a pretty powerful like turn 1 safety valve for those decks. We have similar effects to this already exist, but they're just more expensive. So I really like Deafening Silence as a good potential sideboard option for a lot of modern. So I see what you're doing right now, and you're being very, very silent, and I get it now.
Yeah, there you go. I do think, especially if you're just a deck that's looking to cast creatures, or even like humans or something like that, like this is a cool sideboard card that you can cast, and then like you don't have to worry about the restriction. Other people do.
Right.
And that's important. Next up is one of the weirdest pieces of art in the entire set.
It's already been well documented that Mike has a problem with the art in Hogak. And
I really do.
Yeah, Hogak is banned in Modern. He doesn't have to like see it. I have similar feelings about this art. It's just too many. It's just too many lips. I just don't like it.
It looks like all of the memes of like bad like yearbook photos where there's like 3 pictures of the same person. You know what I mean? Like. It doesn't help that all the lips around her that make up her like lip belt are definitely like the Rocky Horror lips.
They just remind me of like wax lips.
It's just like the red lips, like full black background, just like telling you about the science fiction double feature.
Yeah. You should probably tell the people at home what the card is.
I can't. She brought the hush. This is. Oh, take me downtown. I'm just looking for some hush. That's what ZZ Top was thinking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
1 generic and a white for a 1/2 creature fairy. Has flying and lifelink. Creatures entering the battlefield or dying don't cause abilities to trigger. So everyone's like, hey, here comes the party. And she's like, she's the library ghost.
Yeah, correct.
From Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
It's like,
exactly.
I think this card is certainly powerful. And I put it on my list, but then I was trying to think of like, what deck do I want to put this in? And I don't know entirely. You know what I mean? Like, it being a fairy makes it a little bit awkward in some of the tribal decks, and some of the tribal decks are really benefit from ETB effects. Humans couldn't play this. You know what I mean? This would be a bad sideboard card for them. Fairies could
theoretically,
but like the decks that are looking for a small creature like this to shut those things off also tend to be. I picture them as decks that want these things.
Right.
So I will need to see where this goes. Maybe it is like a Hate Bear-esque deck, but like even Hate Bear is like Flicker Wisp, or depending if they're going that way. So it really does depend on the build. Hushbringer turns off the Strangler, and we don't like that.
Definitely not.
Which is weird because they're both doing the same thing. The Strangler's like be quiet, and Hushbringer's like be quiet.
Well, one's just a little bit more aggressive.
One of them does it with rope, and the other one does it with kisses.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like it just like
it will smooch you silent.
So it's the first time we've seen like the or dying clause, right?
Yeah.
So like that's significant. Maybe this isn't. So we had Tecatli Honor Guard, right?
Right.
And that saw some play in Standard.
It did.
And technically some play in Modern.
It did see some play in Modern.
So like I imagine that the same decks that would want a Tecatli Honor Guard may at some point in time in the format want this.
Maybe Honor Guard survives Bolt. I think this card definitely like has the right text box for Modern. I don't know where it goes yet, and I don't know if it's needed yet.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have.
It's unique.
Yeah, for sure.
It's unique enough to be like, maybe keep an eye on this card.
Yeah, so if you ever need it, step on up to the slab. Nope, step on up to the lab, see what's on the slab. I did it wrong. Oh no! Don't attack me.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to get you.
I mean, I wouldn't blame them.
So next up is probably maybe the most busted card in the set.
This card is scary.
I mean, like, so it's Emery, Lurker of the Loch. So it's 2 generic and a blue for a legendary creature, Merfolk Wizard. It's a 1/2. It says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control. So it has affinity for artifacts. It says when Emery, Lurker of the Loch enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. It has a tap ability. So tap. It says choose target artifact card in your graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. Obviously, you still pay its costs and timing rules still apply. So, we don't really have that many artifact strategies in Modern, right? Like, there's really nothing that's going to be able to take huge advantage of this card in multiple different points during the game. It doesn't have, like, any sort of effects, like, that are very important, like cost reduction, self-mill. People don't like those things.
Here's what I'll tell you. On Dominaria, because of the horrific things he did and for how long he did them, Urza's name is a cuss word. People say it like if they were going to say damn, they would just say Urza.
Yeah.
Or like Urza's Urza's blank or whatever else. That's how I feel about this. This card's very good, and it's not going to do anything healthy.
No, it's not going to do anything fair. Like, this literally says, like, tap, cast your Mox Opal for free. Which is gross.
Hey, this card untaps with a lot of cool cards. One of them that I saw that was really interesting was Jeskai Ascendancy.
Oh, can you just go, like, infinite with this card?
And Jeskai Ascendancy and 2 Mox Opals. Not Opal. It's not Opal, right? Is it Opal? Let me just say that
the Metalcraft one?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking that's Pearl. Anyways, yeah, 2 Mox Opals because it's non-creature spells for Jeskai Ascendancy.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So you cast it, untap this, and then you Legend Rule the other one there, and then you get to cast it again. But you get to make mana off the Mox each time. Yeah, it's real good. That's a combo.
that is, in fact, one of them combos I've heard so much about.
She looks like she's living in a stew, baby.
But, that's... okay.
Yeah, and we're good.
Again, I reiterate, not doing anything, like...
Healthy
in the format. When you look at stuff like Urza, they may not need certain cards, so that may make their mana bases potentially more stable, better. They are playing Arkham's Astrolabe, so like, I mean, what kind of game were we playing?
Yeah,
here
anything
in the first
they want.
place?
They can play anything they want.
Again, I want to go back to the point that maybe Modern Horizons was just invented to show us the glaring flaws of Modern, so that we can more readily ban them. And they're like, well, Mox Opal is almost there. Let's put a card that just like really hammers it home.
Yeah, Mox Opal is currently $130, so let's see how high it can climb.
But yeah, this card's just it's busted. I kind of like it for I think this card's going to be fun. Fun in Brawl. Like, I think in Brawl it's probably tame. Your card pool's like a lot more restricted, but it allows like some redundancy for some of your cool decks. So like, I'm excited for it there. I'll play it there.
I could see like this card in a deck that wants to cast the Enchanted Mirror.
Yeah, for sure.
Magic Mirror.
But this card's gonna be nasty in Modern. So just be like aware of it. At least it's a 1/2, so it's like theoretically easy to interact with.
Yeah, you know. Next up is Vantress Gargoyle, sticking with our artifact theme. This is 1 generic and a blue for a 5/4 artifact creature gargoyle. Has flying. It can't attack unless defending player has 7 or more cards in their graveyard. And it can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in your hand. And it has an activated ability of tap. Each player puts the top card of their library into their graveyard. So this is was it Cormus? Nope, that's the wrong bell. What bell? Ghoul Caller's bell.
Sure.
Whatever it is. There's a lot of this effect.
Yeah.
Again, if you've played against the aforementioned Lantern deck.
Yeah, you're quite familiar with it.
Yeah, I think this is interesting. Those kind of strategies could play this and then just have something to attack with.
Yeah, you still have something like a blue-black, mill.
Granted, they normally play Ensnaring Bridge, but...
Sure. But, theoretically, that also exists. You also just have the fact that people naturally get larger graveyards in, the Eternal formats, like Modern, like Legacy. So, It doesn't take much to get this thing attacking. And it's 2 and a 5/4. And in the early game, you're still going to be able to block with it. It doesn't die to bolt. Like, it's just big, and
It is big.
it's big and cheap, and typically that means that eventually something's going to happen with it, where people are like, "Oh, I can just attack with this. It's just fine. Don't worry about it."
It's cool. And yeah, like for a lot of decks, it's very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's stupid not to be like at least acknowledge it. It may not do anything in the format initially, but it's one of those
what
things.
it does, you're gonna go, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that's like, oh yeah, that's the thing that you can. Okay, all right, and like, it's one of those things where you just have to be like, is there anything that you can do that interacts with this because of its power and toughness, because it's so cheap as well. Right. So what's a way that you can abuse it in that method? Like, it's not just whether you just have a big beater. It's literally like, what are we doing with this high of a stat line with this low of a CMC? And I think it's definitely important to kind of take into account.
Agreed.
Next up, yeah, this is a card that's definitely going to be.
Yeah, this could have been on all the lists. It's important.
100%.
Yeah, we want to talk about more cards, but it's very good.
Probably less so for Brawl because you only have one, but
why not? Why wouldn't you play this card?
I guess there's no reason not to.
I mean, if you
just feel like a true magician when you get to play it in your opening Brawl hands.
Just to make Keller angry.
I mean, that's a good enough.
Oh,
reason.
you always have it. Yes, yes, I do.
So it's Once Upon a Time. Which is one generic and a green for an instant.
It's more flavorful in Brawl because it's once upon.
That's true, I guess. It says, if this is the first spell you've cast this game, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. And it says, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put them into your hand and put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is like an adventurous impulse, but one that digs deeper and you could just do for free sometimes.
Also an instant.
So it kind of does a lot of. It's a free spell. All right. First of all, that's all you need to know. Is like it's some percentage of the time, this is just something you get to do for free. That alone is enough for people to like take a look at it. I think most every like, when you look at like cheap Phyrexian mana cards, some of them are banned. some of them still see some amount of play. You look at the Dismembers, the Mutagenic Growth, the Noxious Revivals, the Gut Shots, things like that. So like, if those get some amount of play and they're pretty minor effects all in all, and the other minor effects are banned in Modern, then
what are you saying, Morgan?
You have to look at this and be like, okay, this is probably, I wouldn't call this a minor effect. This can be pretty significant depending on when you're casting it. Early in the game, you might be looking for lands. Late in the game, you're probably looking for a threat. But, you're able to just cast it for free in that early game and really have a hand come together, right? And that's powerful. And it seems like a lot of people are obviously taking advantage of that. I don't think it's like a Gitaxian level of busted, right? Like
no.
You don't just play as a 4 of and reduce play 56 card
it's
deck.
Important here, even as a 4 of, it's still only the first one. So
sure.
So that helps make that like mitigate it. You won't feel that way again when your opponent's like neoforming you because of this.
Yeah.
But especially in Modern, if you're playing this card, you're probably not doing something fair.
No, you're playing it in like Tron. To some number, you're playing it in, like you said, neoformed in some number. Maybe I think if you're playing a green deck, you probably have to look at your deck and be like, "Am I playing this card?" Which I think that kind of routes back to previous frustrations that you definitely had of having these cards that are kind of like automatic de facto cards in certain formats.
Yeah.
Like to talk about to like Arcane Signet, maybe to a lesser extent because like you're not playing this in every deck, but you're probably considering it for every green deck.
Yeah, you certainly are considering it. It's I think that's more of a problem in Standard, where
yes,
where you're going to be hard pressed to show me a green deck that doesn't want a free spell some number of the time, and because this being an instant changes how those cards normally work. Like thinking of like it's an Adventurous Impulse or Tracker's Instincts or Mulch or any of those kind of cards. Now, granted, some of those cards put things into the graveyard, whatever else. But like most of the time, like I think like what Grizzly Salvage is the one I think of that was an instant,
and that card was
like really, really good, but like we don't normally get like that's what I'm kind of saying is like we don't normally get them as instants, and that's something that's interesting. So because especially since like they can also find adventures, and that's important. Like it doesn't just search for creatures in standard now; it also searches for spells.
So like, how upset are you? Because like, if you're the person that's like, why does green have all the best cantrips, and then they like just print this, and you're like, and you just look at anticipate, and you go. But why?
Yeah, you look at anticipate. You like anticipate's okay. Here's the thing: anticipate can't currently get hero's downfall, but this card can. That's standard. That's green. That's what they have done to green in the color pie. Morgan, you made me mad. I got myself upset.
I'm very sorry. I didn't realize you were one of those people.
Well, what? Those people, huh?
Yeah, the people that complain that green has all the best cards, but
well, no.
then again,
like,
we just kind of proved that point.
They kind of do. Like, green is losing the explore package. We better make sure they have something. Let's move on to a card that I think is actively bad. Drown in the Loch. Blue-black for an instant. Has sweet art, though, I will say. Choose one. Counter target spell with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. Or destroy target creature with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of cards in its controller's graveyard. I think this card is unplayable. Its text reads real nice. Like, yeah, I want both of these effects. But because this has no effect on what your opponent is doing, on your opponent's graveyard. We talked about the Gargoyle. The Gargoyle does have an effect.
Yeah.
It builds to it. This doesn't, meaning even though it costs 2 mana, the chances of you doing something on turn 2 with this consistently in any format, I think is too rough. And you also get weird things like, it's not as common now. Obviously we do have a lot of delve threats still in Modern, but like, we're still in a world where Murderous Cut sees play. Like, man, what if you try to cast a spell and someone Murderous Cuts something in response? And you're like, good, this is what I want. And that may sound like a corner case, but like you could be building to this card and then like you tap low for a turn and your opponent forces through a Gurmag Angler and then you're staring at a literally worthless card. I can't. I don't think this card is playable.
I mean, like, it's a card that is cheap and can theoretically be powerful. So I don't disagree with you necessarily as far as like probably not being playable. But I didn't want to like overlook a card.
No, I don't blame you for talking about it, and some people have talked about it. But in standard, this really isn't a two drop 2 mana spell.
Yeah.
Which is where you want something like this to live because you can't guarantee what your opponent's doing.
And realistically, like something like this, it has theoretical flexibility, but in standard, I don't think it.
No, it certainly doesn't.
It does, because and you'd rather play something like a Tyrant Scorn over it, right?
Well, for sure. And I think like in standard specifically, when some of your opponent's spells are actually going to be in the exile zone because they're adventures.
Yeah.
Like that's even worse.
Right.
So I think this card just.
But and that's why I'd rather talk about it in Modern in a place.
Maybe you're playing Glimpsy Unthinkable, and then this card is hard counter, hard removal spell. But then you're playing Glimpsy Unthinkable, and God love you, I won't be doing that.
Sure. So, I'm just saying, like, those decks do exist.
Sure. Yes, just like the M&M's commercial where they see Santa and Santa sees them, and they say they do exist.
Those kind of decks, they
do exist.
More and more followers, I think, with every set that comes out, and they get like one piece here and one piece there.
Everywhere a piece.
They slowly
Old Neil Donald had a farm.
Start gathering, the townsbook, as it were.
All right, next up, a card that we'll probably see play.
Yeah, correct.
Castle Garenbrig. I don't know. This enters the battlefield tapped, unless control a forest. Tap to add a green. Activate ability of 2 generic green. Tap. Add 6 green mana. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. So this is our castle cycle, and this is seeing a lot of buzz because of our Amulet Titan.
Yeah, or Titan Shift, or any deck that's like looking to play.
Sure, yeah, Titan Shift too. Titan Shift, I don't know, they're as excited about it. But I know Amulet Titan is excited because they can use an amulet like one of like the Seeker Scouts or Azusa to turn 3 or turn 4.
Yeah.
Power out a.
But so can Titan Shift, right?
So can Titan Shift too, I suppose. I guess yeah, they can do that too.
Yeah.
So, this is, I know at first glance, like, the comparison was to, like, Temple of the False God, and I don't think that's entirely wrong. For Standard, you're like, but, like, at the same time, like, you just have a land that lets you, like, cheat on land for a turn, like, that, it's still powerful.
Yeah.
Like, it maybe doesn't do as much as you think it should, but, like, when you're like, oh, I'll just make 6 mana this turn, as opposed to next turn.
Yeah.
Because
I can.
I had to do no work for it. Yeah, that's fine. I think that's pretty powerful. But yeah, when this when something says tap, add 6 green mana, only cast this on green creature spells or just creature spells, it better be casting Primeval Titan. Like, what else are you
100%.
doing? So yeah, this is an easy one for me. I think it'll definitely see some play.
Next up is a land as well, which is kind of surprising because you may think we're kind of done talking about lands, but this is the common typed land. So it's the island. It's Mystic Sanctuary, and it is a land island. It says Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield tapped unless you control 3 or more other islands. And it says when Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to the top of your library. So people have been memeing with this card, obviously, and with Terminus as being the card you put on top of your library, which isn't bad.
No,
realistically. So if that's like the base level is a meme, that doesn't seem that bad. Especially in something, maybe, blue-white obviously plays a large amount of basics and a large amount of just like islands as well. So like this is going to enter the battlefield untapped like a reasonable amount of time. You will have a lot of instants or sorceries that you would like to return, some of them being Terminus, some of them being just other general things that are probably pretty good to cast again. Because you are already playing things like Snapcaster Mage to have that viability, so why not play this, land that also counts as another island if you have another one that comes in after that happens, so it's just like they feed off of each other. And, like, it just seems like a pretty low...
I like that you can fetch this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, you can end a turn to it, which is pretty great.
Right. So this has a lot of real... interesting implications for older formats.
I think it's also a good transmute target.
Yeah.
For what's the Teleria West?
Mm-hmm.
What the blue-based living index? What's the enchantment they play? The one they add a counter to?
Days and Doing.
No, that's the spell.
No, that's the As Foretold.
As Foretold. Yes, thank you. The As Foretold decks that are playing like Ancestral Visions.
Yeah.
I'll just put it on top of my library and cast it for another free Ancestral Visions. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. You know what? I wasn't sure on this card, but you've sold me. It's interesting.
It has a lot of interesting implications. Again, like fetching an instant sorcery and putting it back into play, it just is powerful the further back in the format you go. Just because like those are what those formats are built out of is those kind of instants and sorceries. So I think this card is like it hits all the right notes. It's fetchable, which is an important thing to point out, and just nab something powerful from the graveyard.
Yeah, it needed to come into play untapped is a real cost, but there's enough decks, like you said, that are playing islands at this point that can do it.
That's probably going to be a deterrent for some of the decks that may want to play this and just can't pull off like the island count to do so. But I'm thinking it being more powerful, obviously, in the sort of blue-white control decks and stuff like that. But there's other decks that may push that shift that land count. Like you said, the As Foretold. Decks that maybe they make this more viable to kind of see play.
Yeah. Next up, more mana.
So much mana.
This is Ironcrag Feet, which if you haven't seen, I think I saw Channel Firewall tweeted. I don't know if they were the original ones because I know they share them back and forth. But like you just put like an artist in this, so Ironcrag featuring Drake, Ironcrag featuring like. That's very good, and I very much enjoy that. So this is
good.
Generic red for a sorcery. Add 7 red to your mana pool. You can only cast 1 more spell this turn. So this is a pretty huge ritual. I don't know if you know this, but like Seething Song is banned in Modern. Now, granted, that's normally used in conjunction with casting a lot of spells.
Oh, right.
So if you're going to cast 1 more spell, better make it good. What 7 mana spells could we cast in Modern that might be good? Have I told you the good word about the Father?
Yeah. Card costs exactly 7 mana. So that's
weird.
That's a pretty significant thing for sure.
Yep,
you do.
There's a lot of things in Tron that you can either cast outright with us or get real close to. Your Wormcoil Engines, one off from Ugin, depending on what you're doing. That's pretty good. I've already seen some like red, either like reddish prison lists or something pop up that like that are using this to power out, planeswalkers or like big Chandras or anything like that. Real quick.
Yeah, when we get Koth back eventually, he'll want this, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
he'll do something with it.
featuring Koth.
Featuring Koth, please. Koth Watch 2019. But yeah, I mean, like, rituals are definitely something that tend to be busted to some degree. Now, obviously, we have to temper our expectations with this just for the sheer fact that we can't storm off with this. It's not what this card's going to be made to do, but it's going to be allowing you to cast something way ahead of schedule. Like, you could be casting this as early as like turn 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, in modern, definitely turn 2.
Yeah.
So
you could I guess you could technically do turn 1.
yeah, that would require a bunch of Simian Spirit
guides. But something that like it's just people are gonna play this card. Like I just have a strong feeling that like they're gonna see this and try to do again. This is just going to try to get Simian Spirit Guide banned. Let's do it. Let's get all this free mana out of here. But yeah, I like this card. It's definitely like big and splashy. It's surprising like something like this isn't a mythic. Don't you see this in like? I feel like this should be like your garbage mythic that you open in your packs. You'd be like, I can't believe I opened another one of these.
The art feels mythic. Like it's very cool.
But oh well. And then the last card is Dance of the Manse. So Dance of the Manse is X white blue for a sorcery. It says return up to X target artifact and or non-aura enchantment cards with converted mana cost of X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If X is 6 or more, those permanents are 4/4 creatures in addition to their other types. So you can like, Mike was talking about this, but you can like just like kill people with this card.
Obviously like this card like wants like, unfortunately, Correctly Ironworks. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's weird. Can you use artifacts to make mana to cast the spell? Can you use artifacts to like mana rocks and things that tap for mana to cast it? Okay, cool. And then can you find a way to get those cards in your graveyard?
Probably.
Okay, cool.
People have been doing it for ages.
Like we talked about a couple ways to mill yourself already, anyways.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. Can we put like a Hammer of Perforos in the graveyard?
You could.
And then when you bring all them back and they're all 4/4s, they're going to go real fast.
They're real fast.
Oh man, they're going fast.
You've never seen a chest of drawers move this fast.
Yeah, not since Angela Lansbury was a teapot. Have you seen furniture go this quick? That's just me like messing around with it. But I think like this card is pretty powerful. If you can find a way to cast as an instant, like I said, or give these things haste.
So like Teferi, like
that's possible, or even like a Quicken. You know what I mean? Something like that. I think this card has like real combo potential.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, like even looking at again to go back to Wursa, that's just our deck, our artifact deck du jour currently. But like some of the lists are already playing Teferi, Time Raveler. So like having an instant, a scaling way to just like at the end of turn, get back their combo. Is like frightening.
Yeah, it really is.
And just like that deck functions off of having redundancy within its graveyard through things like Goblin Engineer. So like you're kind of like giving that deck the tools to pare down some of those things potentially, and being able to function more efficiently with less mana issues potentially. Again, Archrom's Astrolabe, I don't know. It exists in the format. Are mana issues ever a problem anymore? Beats me. But it's just kind of important to really consider and take a look at when you're looking at Dance of the Manse. So
the
only honorable mention that we had was like Wishclaw Talisman, which is like Demonic Tutor on a stick that your opponent gets to control sometimes. And
Scheming Symmetry hasn't done anything yet, and I like that card better than this. So.
Sure. It is an artifact, so Karn is the thing. Karn's the thing in Standard, but it's also definitely a thing in Modern. So if you do this with the card in play, your opponent can activate it,
I guess that's true.
which is pretty significant to point out.
Why won't this monkey's paw work?
So that's the only reason, like, I think a lot of people have been kind of pointing it out as being like, that's a pretty easy way to disrupt the symmetry of this. But if it's going to be busted, I would have to say it's more likely going to be busted in like Modern or an older format.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, but that's our Modern cards. Modern's kind of a stretch. We had a couple of like ones that we don't quite know but could get there. But you don't want a huge set adding a bunch of like disruptive things to Modern realistically, unless you're like Modern Horizons or what have you.
Right.
So half the cards we talked about may never do a thing except for, but Emery's a slam dunk. Like Emery's going to do something in Modern.
Yeah, definitely Emery and like Once Upon a Time.
Yeah.
So for sure, and the castle.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's move into the real deal here, the main event.
You know, a true king of formats, Brawl.
Kenrith, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Kenrith of formats.
Let's actually start with our honorable mentions this time,
yeah,
because
this
I
time.
realized that too. I was like, oh shoot, we missed it.
So hold on.
The one just disappeared? Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So I put this on here. It's Corridor Monitor. It's one generic and a blue. And it's just a 1/4 artifact creature, and when it enters the battlefield, you can untap target creature artifact. I just like it for Vanifar. Like, that's a way to continue doing your Vanifar chains.
Yeah, you just like start chaining through and comboing.
So it's 2 instead of like your typical like 3, which affects your things. You probably have less than 1 mana things to Vanifar into than 2, but you can also just like play it, and that's fine too. And yeah, I just like it. I think like that's the kind of thing you want in your Vanifar Brawl decks, to just get 2 activations in a turn. So
I do want to quickly mention the card that's next to that one in line, which is Didn't Say Please. I need you to know that one of my favorite cards to play in Brawl, all of last format, was Admiral's Orders.
Yeah.
Because like when you countered something, you were like, ooh, can't let you do that. Admiral's Orders.
So there you go.
So I can replace it with another trolling counter spell where it's like, ooh, you know what? Can't let you do that. Didn't say please.
You sure can.
And that makes me really happy, and I'm sure everyone else really sad. Our next honorable mention is Sir Conrad the Grim. Sir Conrad the Grim is our new sort of, I want to say like blood artist, but that's not entirely true. But in the same vein, maybe a little more expensive than a blood artist. Sir Conrad is 3 generic black. And I'm doing this while I'm trying to get there. I forgot they spelled Sir with a Y. For a 5/4 legendary creature, Human Knight, it says whenever another creature dies, or a creature card is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad deals 1 damage to each opponent. It has an activated ability of generic and a black. Each player puts the top card of the library in their graveyard. So, this in Brawl, these effects are very powerful. And this activated ability is nice. The body, being a 5/4 is significant. And for decks like Izoni that we have, or like a Judith, or things that are looking for this effect, this is a good one.
Yeah, for sure. It does function in a lot of interesting ways. This is a kind of a weird way to go about like doing something like getting Spectacle, even, because it's you can get it through a lot of different avenues. Creatures don't necessarily have to die. Sometimes you just, mill a creature or something like that. Or you can, like, discard a creature, right?
If it goes into the graveyard from
anywhere other than the battlefield.
Yeah. So it's weird.
You just have to keep reading it and be like, I think this works. But it lends itself to a lot of different avenues of like enabling something, and then you can also just like figure out a way to flip over your entire deck and kill your opponent, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think that exists within the format, but you could.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's it.
So there's another way you can build with that card. Just saying. And the last one is Epic Downfall, which is 1 generic and a black for a sorcery. It says exile target creature with converted mana cost 3 or greater. So this is on here because it gets rid of almost every creature commander. That
Yeah, as
exists
long
within
as
the
their
format.
commander's a creature, it gets rid of it for the most part.
Again, if you're playing, Lavinia, Azorius Renegade, she escapes it.
I'll ask why you're playing Lavinia Azorius
Because
Renegade.
you just love blue-white, and you
Yeah, you
don't,
can
and you
play-
hate everything else.
You play Dovin.
And you loved Lavinia.
Okay. I want to mention, like, when you start evaluating removal for Brawl, it does get a little bit different. Cause,
Yes.
So, like, I would compare that card to Price of Fame, which is kind of a Brawl All-Star, which is 3 generic and a black. The spell costs 2 less to cast if the creature it targets is legendary, and it's a target creature surveilled 2, and that's from Guilds of Ravnica. So, like, that card is, like, not... You wouldn't play that in Standard for the most part, but in Brawl... It's great because it kills everything, but it's cheaper when it kills a commander. So like you're evaluating your removal just a little bit differently. And I think that I do think that Epic Downfall will see some standard play. I think that like it's a main deck card in Brawl.
Yeah.
So in deck, in the black decks and cast.
Sure. All right. So let's go ahead and start with our list. And again, these lists, I just want to reiterate, no particular order. But Mike, I think you have the first one of Circle of
Circle
Loyalty.
of Loyalty, yes. This is a sweet one that I'm glad, these are the kind of cards that we would not have talked about, even in a Palooza probably.
I mean, maybe. I think like Circle of Loyalty is pretty close.
Maybe.
It has to be a Knights deck. Like we have to presuppose that the Knights deck is definitely a thing.
Yes.
But if the Knights deck is a thing, like they want this card. This card does everything.
What's the Convoke artifact where like creatures get +2/+2 that you control?
Oh, Obelisk of Ur.
Obelisk of Erd. Like it has to be close like to that card, right? Because that's where but I agree. This is 4 generic white for a legendary artifact. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each knight you control. Creatures you control +1/+1. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. 3 generic and a white, tap it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. So I do think that Brawl is where you're going to get your best chance at the legendary trigger for sure.
Yeah.
This is just the kind of spell where again, like I think even as in a dedicated Knights deck, this card's asking a lot. Like you want me to play this over like Icon of Ancestry, right? Like I don't know if I'm doing that.
Icon of Ancestry isn't like a Swiss Army knife. Like it doesn't just
But Icon always costs 3 and doesn't sometimes cost 6 when you get wrathed out. Yeah, that's my only thought with that.
Sure.
So I'm not saying it's wrong. Like Obelisk of Erd, like saw a lot of play. Most of them because you had Goblin tokens to pump it out. But I think in Brawl, like this is where it gets sweet. You can set up some Brawl commanders. It's frustrating that we're losing so many good knights from Dominaria for this because like they never got a chance. Who's the black white knight legend? I don't remember.
Ariel.
Yeah, man. Like I am sad to lose her as a commander for cards like this.
Yeah.
But this is something you definitely want in Brawl. It's a must answer kind of card that generates a lot of power. So.
Yeah. I guess it's an army in a can.
That it is. Army in a
circle.
Can's a circle.
Tuna can. Yeah. Circle can. All cans are circle.
Next card.
I'll tell you, man.
Yeah.
Next card is Fae of Wishes. So this is a sort of a card that we are kind of interested in just going back to like having sort of wish boards, and actually has stirred some conversation within our own group. But I'll read the card. So it's Fae of Wishes. It's just 1 generic and a blue for a fairy wizard. It has flying and it has an activated ability of 1 and a blue. Discard 2 cards. Return Fae of Wishes to its owner's hand. All right. But then it has an adventure. So it's a sorcery adventure. It is 3 generic and a blue for granted. It says you may choose a non-creature card you own from outside the game, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So it's a wish. And it's a pretty generic wish. You just can't search for a creature. Everything else is fair game. And obviously with something like Magic Online, we know how this is going to work with like if you play with like Karn, right? You just are able to have a 15-card sideboard as a wish board.
Again, we've seen that in single player. We technically haven't seen it in Brawl yet.
We've seen it in like I think that's how it works in like 1v1, right?
It works. That's not Brawl though.
I know. I can't imagine it being different though.
Yeah, we're not entirely sure. In our play group we do play with 5-card sideboards.
Yes.
Because we play a lot of single player and best 2 out of 3 as opposed to 4 player. So this card is definitely in my mind something that's going to make. It's going to depend on your play group for this.
Yes.
What your wish targets really do look like. I don't play a lot of Commander. I don't know how these cards tend to work in Commander.
Yeah, I don't.
If they do, they might not. That's something I don't know if that's something we don't look at. So.
I imagine, like, is there a like rule within the games that cause them to work? Probably not. If it's most likely the same way that we do it, right? House rules.
Yeah, and so it's going to depend on your play group. I like this card a lot, though, assuming you have a chance to use it pretty effectively.
But it has caused a discussion to be like, we played a majority of the season with 5-card sideboard, so it's like, well, now do you expand that just so you have like we do already have a couple of we have the Vivian from M20, and then we have Karn. So like,
I was playing a deck with a Karn package that like I really wish it just had some more slots for regular sideboard cards.
Yeah.
And that's just maybe the burden of that, but.
Yeah,
it's something to consider.
But it's fun. Like, I think it's it's good to talk about this card because it's good to talk about like taking a format and then like really wanting to twist it or make it to your own liking and make it enjoyable. You don't just always have to go by what the rules say if you are playing something at a quote unquote casual level.
Your wish is those phase command.
Exactly. So when you're looking at these things and thinking about Brawl, like, if you have a play group, like, talk to them and be like, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't you push new ideas and really kind of push the format to something a little bit different, just so you can have like a different sort of context and experience. So I think next up is Cauldron of Eternity.
Yeah, 10 generic black for a legendary artifact. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. Whenever a creature you control dies, put it on the bottom of its owner's library. Then it has an activated ability, 2 generic and a black, tap, pay 2 life, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. Now, I thought this one could possibly go in the standard list. It's powerful enough. It'll probably see play both in Brawl and Standard. This card's going to benefit from adventure cards a lot because essentially you'll have spells, but in a deck like this you would have tension, right? Like, you'd want to have removal spells in the deck, but then they wouldn't count for making this card cheaper. Well, now sometimes when you mill them over, they're just creatures and they count. So I do think that like it's going to require a dedicated deck for a dedicated engine to keep it going. I think some people compared it to like Whip of Erebos, and I don't think it's that card.
No.
Whip Erebos, the lifelink was super important. Whereas this does cost life for this to happen, but the creature gets to stick around, so it's important too.
And like, you also have to look at it that we now have like a pretty large amount of like reasonably costed, reasonable effects to reanimate, right? So like, when you're looking at a Brawl deck, you want to have some level of redundancy if you're going for a particular archetype or a particular sort of like gimmick, for lack of a better term. So I think like we're reaching that amount. Like, I'm building a Lazov deck that's built around Reanimator, just because like you have this card, you have a couple of the reanimation spells,
Bond of Revival,
right? You have
Blood for Bones,
and then you also have like a couple, like you have the big 7-mana creature that gets back like 2 instants of sorceries. So like you just have like a bunch of like cyclical things that are going wrong. So you
Scholar for the Ages.
Right. So you just keep doing the things that you want to do, and that's why you're playing like Emery in that deck, so you can get your Cauldron back out. So you're just doing a bunch of different things to keep your engine going. And I think like once you get a critical mass of those things, that's when you start looking at those kind of decks. So they don't always exist within something like Standard or something like Brawl. But that's what like this card is what helps me draw like into that, because it's like, I want to do that sort of thing. And you also have a lot of self-mill, which is pretty important as well, because you either need that or a way to consistently like draw and discard, you loot or what have you. So but self-mill seems to be like the avenue that they're going with. So I think it's interesting. I always like reanimation strategies when I can play them. So
yeah, sure. Hey, look what happened. Your favorite card ended up on yours is the next one.
Oh, heck yeah.
Let's talk about Evercleave.
My other strategy is also a beating your face in, so that's also my favorite strategy to play in any kind of form of Magic. So Embercleave, it is 4 generic red for a legendary artifact equipment. It has flash, and it says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each attacking creature you control. When Embercleave enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature you control. And it says equipped creature has +1/+1 and has double strike and trample, and it has an equip cost of 3. And this card is, I still will lobby to have this as my commander every day of the week, because Evercleave is sweet, and Yeah, this card is. It's just like it's just a fun card. In something like Brawl, your artifacts and enchantments definitely have more of a likelihood of like sticking around and being useful, and even things that aren't like don't make the cut for standard. Even though Embercleave definitely has the power level to do so, but even cards that are still like on the cusp of being good, that's their chance to shine because they get to like exist in a format that isn't exactly like always hyper competitive, and that's why like Evercleave is exciting, because normally you would see this card and be like, oh, that's cool, I guess, but it's expensive and it's not always going to be team or battle rage or something like that.
Right.
But I just like this card just does everything that I want to do, and like with playing Magic is being aggressive and like just having this sort of like instant speed like take 10 or something like that. Like that's just exciting.
No, it's very exciting. It's a splashy play. It's a cool thing to see equipped to a creature.
Yeah.
I think our play patterns will quickly have to like be going like, oh man, do you have Evercleave here?
Yeah, exactly.
I think some of the commanders I'm excited for this about. Like I play Krenko. Krenko's excited for this.
Yeah, definitely.
You were looking at Tajik. Tajik is excited about that.
Oh,
Aurelia
sure.
is excited about this. Like, this is gonna be in a lot of decks, and it's gonna really, really punish some people.
Yeah. And like this will I'm sure like this will influence when people decide to main deck, because like some of the options that you have are like Ember Shieldbreaker suddenly is becoming like, oh, okay, well maybe this actually slots into my main deck.
Yeah.
Maybe there's going to be enough, with a singleton format. People have to branch into some cards like that are artifacts that may not normally see play in standard. So like suddenly these sort of narrow, typically sideboard effects now have an application in the main deck.
But yeah, we for sure. We saw cards like Vivian Reed be super important in the last format because it just had the versatility to deal with a lot of permanents.
Definitely. So those things like definitely become more of a factor when you're looking at building your Brawl deck.
Yeah, and continuing with our red Tor here, we have Torbran, or Torbran, I don't know, Thane of Redfell, it's Gimli.
Gimli.
One generic red, for a legendary creature, Dwarf Noble, that is a 2/4, and it says, if a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, or my axe, it deals that much damage +2 instead. This is a bonkers, line of text on a 2/4 in red. And when I think of, again, like Krenko, and Krenko makes like 3 or 4 goblin tokens, and that's turn 3 is when I cast Krenko, turn 4 is when I cast this and attack. That feels pretty good to me.
That is a lot of damage.
Yeah.
This is the Brawl, like one of the other Brawl decks that I've decided to try to make, just because like I just want to build like a sort of a red mid-range deck that is just designed to just kill you, I guess. I don't know. It's just you read it, it's just such a splashy line of text, and you're like, I just want to build a deck around that.
Yeah, you team this up with a Giant Venerated Pyromage.
Yep. Yep. There's a couple pingers in the format, and you're like, I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, we're going to ping forever. Oh, you can play the Trebuchet.
Yeah, the Trebuchet's in the list. Don't worry about it.
And Cercera the Bold?
Oh,
Actually,
yes.
no, that's Cercera or Cercera. I still don't know if that's Cercera or not. But I don't know the pronunciation of that C. But yeah, that's sweet.
She there. There's just a lot of good things that are good, and I'm glad they exist. It's unfortunate this card doesn't work with the Chandra take up the Chandra.
The emblems are colorless, huh?
They are colorless. They are not red. It is unfortunate.
How about Sundering Stroke? How do you feel like doing 9 to 3 targets?
That seems all right.
If 7 wasn't good enough. I like it.
Yeah, this is like I'm still working. All my decks are rough drafts. Like I obviously don't have cards. Like it haven't seen play or anything like that. But yeah, there's definitely some tweaks even yet to still be made with this. But I'm a big fan of this card.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm excited the next card made the cut. I saw it and was like, yeah, I think this is important. It feels like a card that should be. I don't know where Magic's gone. That this card is like. Maybe not going to see standard play.
So the Questing Beast is the next card. I definitely think I'm not going to be shocked if people suit it up for standard. Don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Card is definitely powerful, but it's a 2 generic green for a legendary creature beast. It's a mythic rare. It has vigilance, death touch, and haste. Questing Beast can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. All right. Whenever Questing Beast deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. It literally does everything.
Yeah, this is the creature that when you're playing an MMO and you accidentally wander into the area where everything's star,
It's got a skull.
and like it just runs at you and kills you in one hit, and you're like, what was that? It was Questing Beast. That's what it was.
Questing Beast, yeah. So if you played WoW, it has like the gold dragon around it, and again the skull where you would normally see its level.
You're like, do you think that'll be my friend? It won't.
It won't be your friend.
I put this card on here obviously because it has so much power going for it. But one of the things that Brawl, if you haven't played much Brawl, the Planeswalker commanders are there, and they are very good. And this does some cool things like being able to attack the player and still get their commander, which is really gross and crazy. It also really gets around some of the token generating commanders. So when you think of like they said like Dovin,
yes,
Saheeli, those are 1/1s, aren't they? Still going to get your commander dead.
Right.
And I think that is incredibly important when you look at how this card is going to function, and gives green decks just another answer to some of these tougher planeswalkers without having to waste attacks, because that's where they can really fall behind some of the blue decks. Is it's still like, you have to start trying to attack like a planeswalker instead of them, and then you make bad decisions. This is like, why not both?
Yeah, and like that's just a very important thing for like you said, for green decks to have access to within the Brawl format.
Just haste as well. Like, it's just not something that's super common in green decks and adds a new element. In most of the green decks, you're gonna play this on turn 3 more often than not. So yeah, I like this card. Next up is a pair of cards, and that is Arcane Signet and Command Tower. We're sort of jamming those together as fixing staples in the format. Command Tower, we know, has been printed before. It's a land, says tap, add 1 mana of any color of your commander's identity. And then the Arcane Signet we talked about a bunch is 2 mana, and it says tap, add 1 mana of any color of your commander's color identity. So I like Command Tower a lot more than I like the Signet, because Command Tower doesn't take up an actual building slot; it's just a land.
Yeah.
But if you're playing Optimum Brawl, you probably are playing one of these in each of those. And I hope you are able to pre-order a bunch of the Brawl decks, because Arcane Signets are really expensive right now. So best of luck to you on that. But like, this does seem like those 2 cards are sort of the lock them in as number 1 and 2 when you start building a deck. So I don't know if we've talked about it as a group. I don't know what our intentions are with Arcane Signet. Like, if we're all just gonna like say yes, and then I don't know, like, are we gonna own 100 different Arcane Signets? Are we going to like write Arcane Signet on a land and keep our actual real copy of Arcane Signet off in our token sleeves?
It is it's definitely an interesting sort of conundrum to have. Now, as far as I know, a lot of us have already pre-ordered like forums of the Brawl decks.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
We will have a plethora of them. But I think, again, when you go back to discussing things like sideboards, you can go back and discuss things like personal ban lists with your play groups.
Very true. So
this could be a card that you say, like, hey, let's not build with this. There's other avenues we do have. Again, Arcane Signet is something that could be important for fixing, though, for certain decks. So maybe you even do things like stipulations, like, okay, well, if you want to build, 3 color, then maybe we look at allowing you to use this or something like that. And being like, not so black and white, but realizing like 3 color decks are going to have pretty rough mana bases for the most part, even with Fabled Passage. Now, Command Tower helps out with that, so it's all contextual. It's all what you feel comfortable with. If you don't like having that Soul Ring sort of feel to your Brawl decks, then like, okay, like that's perfectly fine. They're both very important for fixing, though. To be honest, again,
yeah, for sure.
Optimal builds will have Arcane Signet, but every Brawl deck that you have that's multicolor should probably have a Command Tower. Not from you don't need it for monocolor. Like you're better off playing basics in the first place. So, I don't know, like. And again, like Arcane Signet just kind of goes in every deck. So regardless, I've been building my decks without it just because like I assume that in our play group it's probably going to get banned. That's just where I'm at in my building philosophy. So
yeah, fair enough.
But if I can put it in, it's going to go in probably all my decks. Next up is Mirror Maid. So this is a fun new clone effect. This is the first time that we've seen a clone function in this way. Short of like the Phyrexian one, because you can clone an artifact.
Phyrexian Metamorph, yeah.
Metamorph, yeah. But so Mirror Maid is 1 generic blue for an enchantment. It says you may have Mirror Maid enter the battlefield as a copy of an artifact or enchantment on the battlefield. So it's important that it's not going to lose. It's legendary, so don't clone a legendary. Don't clone your Cauldron of Eternity.
You can clone their Cauldron of Eternity, though.
Could do that.
Like that's more what I'm thinking with this. We talked about the cycle of legendary artifacts. We have a lot of very powerful things in the format, and Mirror Maid just like says yoink to a lot of those things, and that's gross.
Yeah, just clone their Embercleave. Be like, oh
gosh,
how do you like it?
Hey, look, mine has mana reduction too.
Oh man,
do you get to equip it when you do that?
Yeah, I can't imagine you wouldn't.
Like, do you get the automatic equip trigger?
Yeah,
you would,
that's
right?
Part of it, right?
That's insane.
Because it says because it enters the battlefield as a copy of that, and it says when this enters the battlefield, equip it to a creature.
Yeah, my body is ready.
Now I gotta say, I assume it doesn't say attacking creature. That would only be my question.
I think it's just equipped to a creature.
Yep, target creature you control.
Nice. Yeah, I like that a lot. But your green opponent has the Great Henge, and you're like, yeah, me too.
Me too.
And
how about that?
That's not. I think when you look at, I think it might have been Chasandra's the value article, talked about how if you're comparing this to older cards like copy artifact, copy enchant, those are expensive cards. Granted, that's because of some of their printing as well, but I think when you look at Brawl and Commander formats, Mirror Maid is slam dunk.
Yeah,
for sure. Let's talk about another card I really, really like, and this is actually from the Brawl precons, which we've only mentioned Signet and Land so far. The Brawl precons have a lot of interesting cards, but a lot of them are very multiplayer focused, based on how many opponents you have.
Yeah.
So I'm not huge on those, but the card I want to talk about is Taste of Death, which is 4 generic black for a sorcery. Each player sacrifices 3 creatures. You create 3 food tokens. I think this is really powerful.
Yeah, I mean, when you're kind of looking at it, you are going to draw similar conclusions. This can be, depending on what decks you're playing against, a Wrath spell.
Yep.
And then the food tokens, we have talked about how they have a lot of applications in the format depending on what you're trying to do. So you could have your king out, right, and then have attack with it, play this. You sacrifice it, and then you sacrifice your food tokens and get back your king. And you're like,
yeah,
your turn.
Yeah, that did it.
So this, I mean, depending on what you're doing, I think you definitely have to take advantage of those food tokens in some way, other than just sacrificing them for life, because that's
that's still not the worst thing you could.
It's definitely not the worst thing. It is the least exciting thing,
I guess. So, do you see these are candy apple skulls, man?
Yeah, I do see that, but I really feel that you're going to be seeing this with, it really feels like this is a card that the Yurok the Desecrated decks are going to
absolutely
want a lot.
I think the cool thing is too, you can build your decks a couple different ways. You can build it with a Kaya creatureless deck is what I have. Mm-hmm. Man, yeah, that's great. I'll just take those food tokens and a one side, just go ahead and kill your creatures. And Kaya's probably going to use those food tokens to gain life, and that's totally fine.
Sure.
But or a going wide strategy, an Izoni or anything like that. Yeah, sure. I'll get rid of these couple tokens, for your real creatures, and these food also tokens are probably going to do stuff with. And then also, we talked about a card like Liliana Dreadhorde General. Mm. This plays really well with her minus.
Sure does.
If you're sacrificing your own creatures, but then you're drawing cards in addition to getting food.
Delicious.
So, delicious candy skulls. I think this card has a lot of applications. 6 mana is a lot. And we are losing, we won't have to worry Carnage Tyrant, for example, so maybe there's not a creature that you'd definitely want sacrifice effects for, but I think it's powerful.
For sure.
All right, we have one more here?
Last one is Fey Burrow Elder. So this is a Selesnya rare. It's 1 generic green and white for a 0/0 creature, Treefolk Druid. has Vigilance, and it says Faber Elder gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control, and then it has tap for each color among permanents you control. Add 1 mana of that color. So definitely perfectly serviceable in like your 2-color Celestia decks, but I feel like your 5-color commanders are really gonna love this card.
Yeah, I mean, even your 3-color, but anytime
sure.
you're adding a color, like because we don't really have 4-color right now, but 3 and 5-color, agreed. This card is great. It's Vigilance is nice, so you can get an attack in first if you need to. But I think it's more like, was it Bloom Tender? Is that the one that's like a $30 card that has the same line of text?
Yeah.
But it's only mono green. This being a green-white card means it's always going to tap for 2.
Right.
And like so, any deck that it has green-white in it is definitely looking for this card. But yeah, for 5, man, I'll just like have 5 colors of permanents, and then I'll cast my Golos, I guess, by tapping this. Hey, can I activate my Golos? Oh, I can. That's weird how that worked.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty interesting. And or at least Kenrith is sweet with this too. Are those going to be our 2 5-color commanders, right?
Yeah.
Because we're losing Jude.
And Niv Mizzet, obviously.
Oh, and Mizzet. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
right.
he turns us on right away too. Like
Yeah, he does. He does.
he's
turn
all
us
of the
on.
colors of permanents already. So he makes you cast your commander, then you can immediately tap for 5 mana, which is pretty good.
Yeah. I think I like this with Kenrith a little bit more though, just because like if you have 5-color permanents,
That's true.
You can do all the Kenrith things,
Yeah, 100%. Like
all those activations.
We're definitely in a good like format to have a lot of like multicolored permanents already, so that's pretty helpful. I don't know if the mana is necessarily the best for that. You're definitely an Arcane Signet deck at that point in time.
Yeah.
But it is cool to like see a card like this kind of exist in the format. I had a point that I was gonna try to make, but it has left me at this point in time, unfortunately. The most fun interactions that I think I've seen because we have another card, we have Happily Ever After, which also cares about having a certain amount, having all the colors of permanence basically in that, and the human tokens that get made in War of the Spark.
Are they human tokens
or citizen tokens?
Citizen tokens, yeah.
They're all colors.
Plain white celebration.
And it's important to note that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they're the only things. I don't know if anything else makes those citizen tokens other than
I
plain
don't
white
think so either. Yeah,
celebration.
plain white celebration though, like also can set your life total high enough for happily ever after. So.
Yeah, it's like it gets you like 2/3 of the way there.
I like that flavor too, because like if you have a plain white celebration, then Ravnica should get a chance to live happily ever after.
Yeah, exactly.
They won't.
It won't. There's a lot of conflicting ideals on that point.
Yeah, it's weird. And you're living Guild Pack's a dragon who's definitely mostly is it. So it's like well, these other color symbols come right off.
Look at that. Just they're only temporary tattoos.
That's really good. I think the only card out of all of these things I'm sad we didn't mention at all was Rankle, Master of Pranks.
Yeah, Rankle, Master of Prankle.
I think in Standard it has a real chance to do something. In Modern, 4 mana, even with haste, bolts are real. But without Lightning Strike in the format, I think that Rankle has a chance to do some stuff that is,
for sure.
Is gross.
I think he's gonna be like a popular like mono black brawl commander as well. I'm gonna probably put him in like the Lazav deck that I'm playing, just because it's like I can discard a card pretty effectively and make you sacrifice a creature probably pretty effectively. Like it's obviously something that happens to both players, so you have to build around that and have that consideration. But being able to do all 3 could potentially be very powerful.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. I think it's important when you're assessing brawl commanders. Brawl commanders with haste are very, very good. So things like Rankle and the Questing Beast, but like in our own play group, having things like we had Rada, and the fact that Rada just came down and can generate a ton of value the first time she attacked was super powerful. Daragaz just like being this like looming threat. Like haste makes your opponent have to play a little bit differently.
Yeah.
To not especially with Rankle, because like you don't want to get got. It's like, don't let him prank him. I don't want to get pranked.
I don't get pranked.
Don't prank me.
Don't prank me, you stupid YouTuber. But overall, I think Eldraine is kind of getting a lot of people excited. It is presenting like some early like builds of busted things.
Yeah, I think people were like when they first started seeing cards, like, is this Ixalan? It's not. It's Dominaria. Like, it's very powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of, we have free spells. We have spells that get huge cost reductions depending on what you're doing. it definitely is opening itself up to be a fairly busted set of format. So
There's a lot of mana cheating, like just a lot of mana efficiency and mana cheating, and that's scary.
that is scary. So hopefully, we are hopeful that we won't have anything to degenerate. But as far as Mike and I are concerned, we won't necessarily be playing a lot of paper standard. For the most part, we'll probably dabble on arena, but I'm really
I definitely will. I love my standard.
I'm definitely more excited about Brawl that's going to be coming up. So we will definitely explore those formats, and of course, Modern. I don't think we're going to pick up anything new in Modern, but it'll be interesting to see how that format evolves with some of the new toys that it gets. So.
For sure.
But that is going to be everything for our Frolic down Throne of Eldraine. We do appreciate you for listening. If you want to reach out to us, you can. You can reach out to us via Twitter. It's twitter.com/@yourendstep. We also have an email address. It's outyourendstep@gmail.com or facebook.com/@yourendstep. If you're listening to us via a podcast application that lets you leave a rating or review, we do I'd certainly appreciate it. We certainly feel that we're a 5-star podcast. And last time I checked, which is only a few days ago, you guys think that too, so we appreciate it. If you're listening to us via Legit MTG, thank you so much for picking up the show. Check out some of the other articles they have up there. I know that Mike may or may not have a new Brawl article going up.
I'm working on it.
He's working on it.
I'm working on it. When I've had time, which is not often. I'm working on it.
Yeah. So definitely keep your eyes out for that and the other articles that get released there. If you're listening to us via MTG Cast, thank you so much for listening to us. And check out some of the other shows on the network. Thank you again to our lovely sponsors, Comic Town. They are going to be having pre-releases this weekend. So if you are local, we maybe see you over the weekend. Maybe not. I know Friday is going to be a pre-release night. Obviously, since that started with M20, so that's very, very exciting. That may be the time that I go and do it, or I don't know, print out a bunch of Brawl decks and actually play Brawl. I don't know. We'll see. We'll read the room before we go ahead and make that choice. But definitely something that's very exciting. And of course, you can actually, if you pre-ordered any boxes of Throne of Eldraine, you can actually pick up a box of it. So that's pretty fun to have. And since that's happened and been a thing, I think it's been a pretty great thing.
I agree. It could also, by then you could have also already become an expert in Eldraine Standard, right? Because we get that Thursday.
Yeah.
So
100%.
And we get that weird event.
We get that event. So starting Thursday, you can play with every card that's standard legal, as if you have a playset of them, and then start brewing and playing. And I think it's a specific event that you have to play in. That you can do that, and then if you are wanting to play over the weekend, you can play in the event. If you go 12-0, and you get one shot, to go 12-0, and if you do it, you get one of every card in Standard,
plus some of Mom's spaghetti.
Yeah, plus
because you only have one shot.
You only have one shot. Do not miss your chance.
Mom's spaghetti.
I do want to give another shout out, of course, to our patrons over on patreon.com/@yourendstep. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Again, keep the lights on. We appreciate it.
I feel like I don't say thank you enough because Morgan always says it, but I am thankful too.
Yeah, Mike is very thankful. We're all thankful, and we're coming up on November. We'll thank you at our.
It's not even October yet. Don't do that.
Well, thank you at our personal family Thanksgivings about how thankful we are for all of your contributions to the show. Because realistically, at this point in time, it's just charity, and we understand. But that's going to be everything for us this week. You have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time.